before you start listening. This episode contains topics such as house fires and could be triggering for some. Please take care. I'm not a licensed mental health practitioner. I am just a yoga teacher, and I'm just talking about my experience. This podcast is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, treatment, or assessment. The advice given in this episode or any other is general in nature. If you're struggling, please see a qualified mental health professional or call Lifeline if you're in Australia, 131114. Many things in our life are out of our control. Yoga doesn't give you a get out of curveball pass, get out of jail free pass like they have in Monopoly, but it can give you tools to help get through those curveballs. Funny thing is people say, oh, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Maybe it does. Sometimes it can make you weaker. Sometimes you develop more resilience out of it, but it will change you. And I will never be the same person again. Welcome to the Inner Fire of Yoga, a podcast about transformation, resilience, and the power of yoga beyond the mat. I'm Liz Albanis, senior yoga teacher and yoga therapist in training. This podcast was born in 2024 after I survived my second fire. Fire has been a recurring theme in my life, not just in the literal sense, but as a metaphor. It has asked me to burn away what no longer serves me, to transform and to rise stronger each time. This podcast is about that fire, the one that challenges us, but also fuels us to grow. There are rare occasions in life where you cannot believe what's unfolding in front of your eyes. Or maybe you feel it's a surreal moment that you feel like you're in a movie or something. Now, today I want to take you back to probably the scariest night of my life so far. It actually inspired this podcast. I believe deep down that things happen for a reason. I believe in surrendering to the divine as per Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, Ishvari Pranidhana, and that the divine has reasons for certain events occurring. I know that not everyone believes that. It may not seem obvious at the time, but later on it becomes more obvious. Many things in our life are out of our control, many curveballs, and yoga doesn't give you a get out of curveball pass, get out of jail free pass like they have in Monopoly, but it can give you tools to help get through those curveballs. That's what we want from our yoga practice. We want our yoga practice to help us off the mat during challenging times. The beauty of experiencing such an event, such a curveball, moments of adversity, is they show the efficacy of your yoga practice. They also show the weaknesses, what's missing. Has it made you stronger and more resilient? Where is it lacking? Now, for me, it was lacking in the form of self-study, svadhyaya. January the 11th, 2024 started off like a regular, normal day. It was a sunny, hot summer day in Australia. I used my sauna, I used my reformer at home, and that's pretty much what I remember, looking at my daughter's dinosaur growing in the glass jar because I've got a video of it that day. Nothing out of the ordinary. We put her to bed. My husband and I had dinner together. We watched some TV. I went upstairs. He was still downstairs. I didn't hear anything. And the houses weren't that far apart. They were probably too close, now that I think about it. I went upstairs. I had my pajamas on, or I put my pajamas on then. I can't remember that much. And I went to turn my phone on silent so I could do my meditation while my husband was still downstairs. And as I did that, the cameras went off, the security cameras. Thank goodness they went off. And luckily I didn't have the sound on because I would have heard the noise of my neighbour's house crashing down. And I thought, oh no, that camera never goes off on that side of the house. There must be a burglar, because all of that time before the fire, I was worried about burglaries. I was sure we were going to get burgled. We'd already had our house scoped. We'd caught someone on camera. We'd reinstated the alarm system, put cameras up. We put in sensor lights. The crime was getting worse. Our next door neighbours had a terrible burglary. And that had freaked me out. So I was on guard. And I looked at the video and I thought it was a ghost. And then I thought, hang on a minute, it's a burglar dressed up. No, it was smoke. Within 10 seconds, I hear my husband running up the stairs, tearing up the stairs, yelling out to me, call 000, next door's on fire. I'm grabbing Audrey. I had my phone in my hand already, so I called 000. She was on the side of the house where the fire got in. She was at the back. He was in such a hurry. He didn't get a toy out or anything. I didn't grab my handbag. I didn't put shoes on. He handed Audrey to me. The AirPods had dropped. I had my silk pajamas on, no shoes. I walked out into the hallway of our 2-story house. My husband came back. My daughter went into my arms. The front door was deadlocked, and our neighbours started banging on the front door. Get out, there's a fire. Your front door's deadlocked. Why is it deadlocked? Of course it was deadlocked. We were scared of getting burgled. And we fumbled to get the keys. There was no smoke in the house then. We were okay. But the guilt was that my daughter was in the back bedroom and she was right near the fire. And I thought to myself later on, why on earth did we put her in that bedroom? She was the furthest away from us. There was guilt there. I'm never putting her in a bedroom like that, I thought. But anyway, my husband handed me our then 4-year-old daughter, who was crying. She'd been sound asleep. This happened at approximately 11 o'clock at night. We got out of the house in less than 2 minutes. I know this because I was on the phone and I've still got record of it. And I've got the video of me going outside the door, talking to my daughter, saying it's going to be okay while she cries. We didn't nearly die, but our neighbours did. I remember getting out of the house and saying to my neighbours, oh, I'm so sorry, to the neighbours on the other side. And they're like, oh, it's not your fault. And saying to them, I can't believe this is happening. There was a fire on our very own street less than 6 months ago. How is this happening? And it's true. There was a fire, I think it was around the 6th of September, the year before, on our street. I think it was about 10 houses down. I never did count. And I remember coming home from that fire after teaching Pilates, seeing the fire truck, seeing the road shut off, going, oh, those poor people. You know, these people nearly died as well, by the way. Their smoke alarms didn't go off. And thinking, oh my God. And then saying to my husband later on, those poor people, oh, but we'll be okay. What's the likelihood of us suffering a fire when someone else down the street has had a fire? But we did say to ourselves, the week of our fire, I don't think we've got enough contents insurance. Let's look at that on the weekend. The weekend was too late. This fire happened on the Thursday night. I took a video of the house and my daughter crying and talking to the neighbours of me saying, I can't believe this is happening. I'm sorry. I was standing there. I was told to go across the road. There was police there by then. A few of us had called 000, obviously. There was already a crowd of people coming. And then a police officer yelling out, "Stand back," because there were embers flying. My husband went back into the house to get his car keys, and he got his car out. And that was wise, because otherwise we wouldn't have had a car later on. We didn't have wallets. And he drove it down the street so the fire engines could get in there. And I didn't have him nearby. Luckily, I had battery on my phone. I had my daughter in my arms. Main thing is we got out. The smoke wasn't in the house yet, but it wasn't long before it was. The houses were really close together, far too close. The garages were nearly touching. They're about 600 and something metre square blocks. But the houses were big and they were far too close together, in my opinion. Now, I'm not telling this story to complain, to say I've got it was the worst case scenario. It wasn't. But when a person talks about such an event, it's not necessarily to complain. It can be to shed light and to help other people who have gone through similar things, or to help people who've had relatives or loved ones, friends go through this, so they give them a little bit of insight. Not that I can ever understand what others have been through. We're all different. We're unique. Our experiences are different. Our perception is different based on our experiences in the past that have brought us to this very moment. And when a person talks about this, it's not because they're in the worst case scenario, but that doesn't mean they don't have the right to grieve, to feel traumatized, to feel stressed, anxious, sad, scared. No one has the right to deny them their experience. And we saw plenty of this in the Californian fires, with people saying, well, it's okay for celebrities to lose their house. They've got all the money in the world. Yeah, they might have more money than an average person, but doesn't mean they weren't scared, that they weren't traumatized, or they didn't find it stressful. They still had an experience there. But you will get that for people who are listening to me, and you people come out with some weird comments. They will come out with, "Oh, I hate my house. I wish mine had gone up in flames," without realizing what an insensitive thing that is to say. But they will say stuff like this. One of my husband's work colleagues said that to him, much to my horror. Or they'll say things like, "Oh, well, at least you have insurance." Or "It could have been worse." Or, "Oh, well, you'll be okay. You've got a roof over your head." Because they don't know what to say, or they may not realize the gravity of what you're dealing with. Many of people didn't know what we were dealing with until they actually saw more of it. One of my friends didn't get it until she actually saw the house. Anyway, I digress. This is an emotional episode for me. I wanted to take my daughter away. I had her facing away. It was hard enough for me to see it. And I stood further away, so I couldn't really see how bad it was. I was separated from my husband. Watching it with my daughter crying, I'm worried about my toys and me singing songs to her. And yeah, I felt guilt. I didn't blame my husband for not grabbing a toy off her bed. Why would he? I mean, you just don't think. I didn't even put shoes on. I didn't get my handbag. I didn't get my keys. I was there in a silk nightie in front of, 100 people with no shoes on, in a skimpy silk nightie that I would not usually be caught dead outside of the house in, or even with guests. Luckily, I had two gorgeous neighbours who gave me a fleece jacket because they saw me shaking, despite it being a hot night. That's shock. And my daughter, they gave her a jacket as well, and they gave me a pair of shoes, and they miraculously got me a bottle of water. And I thought, gee, they're organised. I didn't know that they'd set up a food and drink stand for the firefighters because I wasn't close enough to see this. So they were really nice people, and there's a couple of people who came up to me to say, "I'm so sorry, my parents lost their house in a fire." Most people don't say anything because they don't know what to say. And I get that because when I was living here in Canberra back in 2003, we had a major bushfire that a lot of people lost their house. We had streets wiped out. And one of the ladies at work, she lost her house and I didn't know what to say to her. What do you say to someone? It can be very awkward. It's an uncomfortable conversation to have. And us people, we like to avoid discomfort, being pleasure seekers. And so most people didn't come up and say anything. That's normal. People like to watch the spectacle. Some people like to watch it and video it because they think it's entertaining. And some people are just watching it because they're scared that the fire will spread to their house and they want to keep an eye on it. Fair enough. I would have watched it too. It's scary though. It did. It damaged 3 houses. It actually damaged 4 houses in the end. That's how quick a fire can spread in modern day. Even if it's not a wildfire, as they call it overseas, we call it here a bushfire. It made 3 houses inhabitable and 2 of those houses got demolished. So a fire can really spread quickly. We had 3 large pine trees at our back fence and they got singed in this fire. If they'd gone up, the people behind us could have lost their house. It was a much bigger fire than I thought it would be. And I just remember standing there helpless. You know, it felt like an eternity for the firefighters to get there. And it wasn't. They were amazing. They got there quickly. But when you're a victim, it feels like ages. Thinking to myself, is this really happening? Surely this is a nightmare. Surely I'm not just surviving my second fire. I can't believe this is happening. It was like I was in a movie. It was just surreal. I've had an interesting life. I mean, I've had some boring days working in the office, retail, where it's been incredibly dull and slow, but I've had some interesting events happening in my life, interesting stories to tell, but I haven't had an event affect me this much since the first traumatic event at age 11. And I had no idea it would have such a profound impact on me that I will never be the same. And, you know, the funny thing is people say, oh, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Maybe it does. Sometimes it can make you weaker. Initially weaker or forever weaker. Or, you know, sometimes you develop more resilience out of it, but it will change you. And I will never be the same person again. And that's okay. We stayed there for a few hours. I was holding my daughter. I called my stepson and my brother-in-law, and both of them being good people that they are, came to help me out. And because I was just exhausted from holding my daughter, and I thought it'd be nice for her to have someone else to comfort her as well. Luckily, my stepson had moved out of the house less than a week before the fire, which was great for him because the room in the house that got incinerated was his former bedroom. So I'm incredibly grateful because he would have lost everything. I remember leaving at 2 or 3 a.m. and my husband asking about locking up the house because of crime. And the firefighters just said to him, well, we'll be here all night, mate. Don't worry about it, your house, and the police will be here too investigating. And we thought, okay. I was still in shock. You know, you just don't fathom it's actually happening. Your nervous system's in overdrive. I didn't go into the freeze response, but I was very wired from it. We didn't have ID on us or money. So we had my stepson book us a 24/7 hotel nearby. Thank goodness for 24/7 hotels, and thank goodness for 24/7 Kmart because we had no clothes. You know, we didn't have our stuff. And we got into a hotel, and I remember trying to get my daughter to sleep. My husband bought her another toy at Kmart, and still feeling tremendous guilt over not getting a toy out for her. And I'm shocked I got sleep that night. I got a few hours in anyway. Surviving a fire isn't just about escaping the flames. It's about the aftermath, the shock, the grief, the realisation of what's been lost, of how much your life is going to change. It's about coming to terms with the fact that you can't go back, things are not going to be the same. For days I felt like I was floating outside my own body, watching everything happen as if it wasn't real. But it was real, and there was no choice but to move forward. I didn't feel like myself. I felt like a completely different person. That night changed me. It forced me to look at life differently, to question what I needed, what really mattered. I'm going to share more about what I learnt, not just practical lessons about fire safety and insurance, but resilience, letting go and rebuilding. I'd like to thank first responders in this episode. I've never really thought about the role such people have so much as this event, and how brave they are, and how much we take calling 000 for granted and that they'll just be there. And a lot of these people here in Australia are volunteers giving up their time to do such amazing things. It must have been a big fire because we ended up with 14 fire trucks and 50 firefighters. I didn't believe that when I saw it on Facebook, and then I read it on the news. I didn't believe it when I heard it on the news. But then I looked at the Vic emergency apps and some other things, and yeah, there were 50 firefighters there and 14 trucks. That's insane. Completely insane. They're heroes. They put their lives on the line just to help the community out, and they're so brave, and I take my hat off to all of them. It's an important job, and I just never thought of how hard they worked. I wish I could have thanked everyone. I thanked the people when I was there the next day. It shouldn't take 50 firefighters to put out a house fire. It really shouldn't take that many people and that many trucks, and I don't know how many police. I really regret not going into the 5 fire stations and thanking people. I really feel bad about that. So if you're one of those people listening and you know about this, I'm really sorry. I wish I'd done that. But last year I was preoccupied with the aftermath, and I just want to thank people out there who do such things. It's true karma yoga, really. It's an incredible, selfless thing to do. This was the second fire I had survived. This fire was different. I felt like I could have died, even though I didn't get burnt. This fire occurred about 13 hours before the 20th anniversary of the other one. Something else that kind of spooked me, as I'm a little superstitious like my late grandmother, and my friend said to me, yeah, be careful in 20 years' time, because fire is a bit of a theme of my life. Anyway, it certainly shook me. Part of the reason, actually probably the main reason, I decided to create more awareness about trauma and fire safety and start to get the government to change certain legislation. So this fire changed me. It changed my purpose in life. You know what? Even if you've survived a fire, doesn't mean lightning's not going to strike twice and it can happen to you again. The other fire I survived was very different. It burnt me and caused me to be in hospital for 17 days with 2nd and 3rd degrees and need 3 lots of surgery, but the house was okay. Life can change in just a moment. Everything can change. Doesn't take much. Your circumstances can change just like that. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. I hope today's episode has left you feeling inspired and informed and empowered to take meaningful steps towards your well-being. If there's a topic you'd like me to cover, or if you'd like to share your story, I'd love to hear from you. Just fill in the form on the podcast page of my website. Your voice is an important part of this journey. I want this podcast to reflect the conversations that matter most to my listeners. If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might benefit from these conversations. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps grow this incredible community of resilience and support. Until next time, take care of yourself and never forget the power, the possibilities of a regular yoga practice. See you soon.